Hello, everyone. So hope you're keeping well. So as promised, I'm popping back on to tell you the story about the little spirit boy that was filmed sitting in the crematorium. So that how this all started around about 7, 8 years ago. I trained as a civil celebrant, and during this process, I actually planned to do more weddings, more like pagan orientated weddings. But as it turned out, I ended up doing funerals. So obviously, you know the history that I'm a psychic medium and a healer. So it was a bit unexpected once I started to do the funerals that I would get spirit visiting me. And they used to come to me usually before the family contacted me. So I would know that there was a funeral coming. It was a bit inconvenient at times, but I got used to it. And then the spirit used to come to me and I used to connect with them and put the funeral together. So that's how it worked. It wasn't planned that way, it just happened that way. And it took me a few services for me to realize that that's what was going on. Anyway, at some point, the press did get hold of it and it went in magazines and papers and things like that. But I was a bit reluctant to take that any further. I think for one, it was a bit unusual and people may not have been able to get their head around it. But anyway, cut a long story short, just before we got to lockdown, I think it was, I knew that this little boy had passed away. I'd sort of seen it on social media because I was friends with someone that knew the little boy. So I actually thought I was going to get the funeral. And then as time went on, I thought, oh, well, maybe it wasn't for me. And I didn't get it. And then I just thought, I wondered what happened there. I didn't think anything else of it really, but there must have been a change of plan somewhere along the line. Anyway, one night I'd gone to the cinema and I was walking back with my friends and put my phone on. And suddenly I was bombarded with phone calls, loads of missed calls and messages. I thought, what's going on here? So this was calls from the funeral director, his wife, people from the crematorium. On the camera, they could see this little boy sitting there, as you will see in the video when you have a look at it. So they didn't know what to do. So apparently he'd been there for a while, probably about a week by the time I got to visit him. And they were just lost. And because they knew the type of services that I did, so whenever I went to the crematorium to talk to them or perform a service, they was really interested in my story. So they understood that the person whose funeral it is will be attending their own service. And sometimes on the cameras, they could see the person sitting in the audience. So they would often ping me over a picture. And there's been a couple that I've posted up as well, but I'll stick them on the next video so you can see the video of the little boy sitting in the creme. And you can also see me in the video trying to help him pass over. And I'll stick one of the other pictures on there as well for you to have a look at. So anyway, I'm bombarded with all these calls and I'm ringing them back and it's quite late by now. And they're saying to me, look, what can you do? Can you help us? We don't know what to do. We tried loads of things to talk to him and help him and stuff like that. So I said, okay, I'll sort it out. And I think I know who it is. So can you check your register and see if this is the name of the little boy, which I'm not going to disclose for family reasons. And they come back to me and said, yes, that's the little boy. So I said, well, I do know his aunt. So I'm going to have a bit of an awkward conversation now and see if I can get the aunt to come with me. So we had arranged now for me to go to the crematorium quite late on a Saturday when there shouldn't have been anybody there apart from these staff members that were going to be there with me. And I'd be creeping around because everything is on video. And anyway, I called up the auntie and had this conversation and said, it was really awkward conversation. But thankfully, she'd known me quite a while when she completely understood. So she was devastated that this little boy was sitting in the creme, lost basically. So yeah, we arranged, she picked me up and we went to the crematorium. So the story behind the little boy, he had various disabilities. as far as I know, couldn't speak very well because I think he was about 4 or 5. He was in a wheelchair, and whatever else he had wrong with him, I don't know. But I do know that he died in his sleep. So, of course, the mum was devastated. The family were devastated, as you can imagine. So when I connected, I said, "Oh, I think he died in his sleep." And they said, "We don't know. They're doing an autopsy." So it's very peaceful passing for him. But on the other end of the scale, he's now sort of wandered around and ended up in the crematorium. And he's sitting there and he refused to pass over, and they couldn't pass him over or take him over because he didn't know anyone on the other side. So his grandparents were still here, his family were all still here. So he was so attached to his mum, which I think was probably part of his like learning disabilities, that he just refused to pass over. So he'd been sitting there, and you can see in the video quite clearly that it is a little boy there. So anyway, we rock up. We're sneaking about in the crematorium, completely aware that the cameras are on us. So I'm trying to make myself look like one of the staff members, sort of moving my hair about and putting a dark jacket on and doing my stuff. So out the back, which is the video you can see, is what's on the screen. So they're out there videoing it because it's infrared screen. And there's cameras always in a crematorium, and this basically for the safety of the people that are in there. And also when the final part of the service, whether the curtains close or open, that coffin is never removed until everybody's left the crematorium. So they're watching on the background to make sure that this is the case before anything happens. So of course they can see everything, and they can see spirit people because of the type of cameras that's out there. Hence why it's being recorded, because they were just amazed at what was going on. So I went there and I was like trying to communicate with him. I was calling in guides and people like that, and it just wasn't happening. And then my guide said to me, "It's not guides that will take him over, it'll be angels." So we now need to call those in. So in this process, I'm trying to call in angels and higher beings and everything, and trying to get him to go over. He completely refused. I was there for quite a while. That's the video is only about 7, 8 minutes at max. But I was there for a good few hours trying to convince him that this would be the best thing for him to do. He just wasn't having any of it. And various times throughout the video, you can see him getting quite engrossed, leaning forward, so his features become more noticeable. But as I'm calling in all people to help, I filled the crematorium with spirit, and there were some unusual looking shapes and things in there. And even if you look at the video, there is a person sitting right at the back. And I had another picture, the one that I'm going to add. You'll see the same person sitting at the back. So they are a person in spirit. But I absolutely filled the crematorium up with all sorts of shapes and sizes. I've never seen anything like it. I could feel the energy building around me. So they've called me, and I've gone running out to look at the screen, and I'm like, "Oh my God, like, what is all this? Wow." It's like, "That's amazing." And they're going, "No, no, you can't leave them here. I can't leave them here." So I said, "No, it's fine. Don't worry. I'll clear it. They will all be gone. These are just people that have probably been around anyway, or we've opened it up and they're coming in." So anyway, I've gone back out and I'm communicating with the little boy. And I'm trying to do my best to get him to pass over. Now his auntie's there. So he, on occasions, is looking to see his auntie. So he recognises her. So we just said to him, "You know, if you can't stay here, you just can't sit here forever. You need to, how about if you go back with your auntie and go and live at her house?" So he liked that idea. So that's what we did. He gradually faded. I'm not sure if you can see that in the video. It's been a while since I've watched it, but he gradually did fade away. And we all left. And, you know, it was quite a relief at this time that he wasn't there anymore. We couldn't see him on the camera. So we're all in the mirror. We're in the car driving along, and I said, "I definitely think he's coming back with you. He's with us in the car." And all of a sudden I felt a kick at the back of my seat, and I said, "Yeah, he's definitely here." So he went back with auntie and he stayed with her. So I don't know what happened after that. I'm assuming now he's probably quite grown in spirit, and maybe if there's a nan or granddad or somebody that's gone over, he may choose to go over to the other side. But on occasions, he used to come and visit me. So he got quite attached with me because I did try my best to try and pass him into the light. And we all know it's lovely over there. And once he would have gone, he would have been completely at peace and happy. But being a little child, he didn't know that was going to happen. He just wanted his mum and dad and his nan and granddad. So there was occasions when back in my old house, I used to have a touch light. So if I wake up in the night, you used to just tap it and it would come on. And there'd be many a times when the light used to just go on and I'd see this big orb and I know it was him. Because it happened quite soon after we'd moved him over to his auntie's house, or encouraged him to go to his auntie's house, if you like. And I used to realise it was him, and I used to say hello to him. And now you need to go back to your auntie. You can't stay here. But I think, from what I remember, he did get attached to some of the ladies at the crematorium as well, because they did try their hardest to communicate with him. And I don't know what his mum looks like, so I'm assuming she's probably similar, sort of blonde type lady. And anybody with blonde hair that had a kindness about them, he seemed to get quite attached to. So that's how he worked. So that's the story of how he came to about. That's how it came to my attention, and I helped him pass over. So from that, as the funerals progressed, of course, the staff got quite excited. So every time I was there doing a service, they'd all be looking to see if there was anybody in spirit there. So the other picture that you will see on the end of the video that I'm going to post was a lady's service. I remember her name was Linda. And I remember looking out and all the seats were taken by two. And you sort of clock it, you sort of think, well, I wonder why no one's sitting there. That's a bit strange. But you carry on, do your thing, you're in the zone. And then it was later on, they pinged the picture over. There's Linda and her dad sitting in the seat that was vacant. So people energetically knew that they couldn't sit there because there was other people sitting there. So it became quite a thing that I got called to do these type of services, and people would often ask me to connect to their loved ones in spirit, to help put the service together, to make sure that they were happy with it, and to make sure that want to know whether they've been to their service or not. So I can only recall one time out of, I did quite a few services back then, that there wasn't anyone, and it was an old lady, and she must have just thought, I'm off, and she never went to the funeral or anything like that. And that's the only once. But all the other times I've had interaction with them, family have asked me to interact to make sure music's okay and poems and things we're saying is okay and that they're happy with everything. So it was really, really reassuring for everybody concerned that, it was a lovely service. So we always had quite good fun. Hardly ever did we have loads of tears and stuff like that. People were so happy knowing their loved ones were happy and they were enjoying what they put together. So they made it more fun. Unfortunately, lockdown kicked in. So once lockdown kicked in, the funeral people that used me at the time decided to use people that was probably more known, probably more general, because we couldn't have a lot of people coming into the creme. So at one point it was like 4, 6 people allowed for a funeral. I didn't actually wear a mask throughout that time. Used to give me anxiety, so I chose not to do it, and you can't do a service with a mask on anyway, so you couldn't be able to hear what I'm saying. So yeah, lockdown sort of killed it and it dwindled out. So now I only really do them for people that connect with me, don't advertise that I do now. And any families that I've worked with before will come back and ask me if I will do a funeral. So I still do them on occasions, only if I'm asked to. But there's been many stories that come about with that. And one springs to mind. I was at South Essex Crematorium, and there was a lady whose funeral I was doing who really loved birds. And I think she was bedridden, so they'd put cameras up in her bedroom so she could see the birds' nests and all the different birds. And that's how she spent her time, bless her. Anyway, she passed over, and the daughters wanted to have some sort of bird song in the reflection time. They tried really hard, but because of copyright and stuff like that, it's really difficult. So eventually they did manage to get this bird song, but it was on a CD and we couldn't get it on the system at the crematorium. So they were bringing a little handheld like music centre with them. So I obviously am there early and I'm a bit worried now that it might not be loud enough to have one of these little mini systems playing with the music. So me and the people that were there, we started looking through the system to try and find something similar. Where the lady wasn't having any of that. She's obviously aware that's what we were doing. She shut the whole system down. It all went down. And they're looking at me going, what's happened? This has never happened before. So I started laughing because I'm now aware why it's happened and I haven't really let on to them that's what's happened. So I just said to them, oh, don't worry about it. If it doesn't start as we start going in, bringing the coffin in and that, I said, then you got a problem, but I think we'll be all right. So I obviously realised like she's not having it. We're going to have to use her song. So in my head, I'm going, you're fine. We'll just use your song. But left them all flapping. And they came to me, it's never happened before. So yeah, and then as we've gone in to start the service, the system's come back on and we've gone back in. So spirit are really strong when they want to be. If they want to let you know about something or they don't like something, they will let you know. So obviously when I'm connecting to them or putting the service together for them, if they didn't like it, I would know about it. If they didn't like something, they would make it quite plain they didn't like it. And if they were happy, obviously the same thing. So it's really reassuring for the family. But one thing I will say to all of you is your family members do attend their own funeral, and you should make it as uplifting and joyful and as about them as you possibly can, because they love it. They absolutely love it. Sometimes they stand next to me while I'm doing the service. Sometimes they're sitting in the audience while I'm doing it. Sometimes they're in the car with me as I'm going along, and we put the music on. I always used to I always used to do a bit of singing in the service, because sometimes when I talk, I get a bit of a frog in my throat. So I thought I don't need to, I used to sing along. But they've always got me to the service, no matter what has been going on, roadworks, accidents, you name it. I've swerved it all. I've gone past police cars where they're trying to stop the traffic and they're all just looking at me. I've just managed to get through. I always got there, no matter what. So I just used to trust the process, it will be fine. And then again, I used to always get back again. But I've travelled many miles doing some of these services and had so many different experiences with spirit while I've been doing them as well. It was an honour to do it, but the constant interference of being woken up in the night, spirit materializes in my room, knocks, bangs, all sorts of things going on all the time, because it was a constant stream of people coming in and out. So hence why I don't do them so much now, because I do need my beauty sleep. But it was a lovely thing to do. And yes, I'm happy to do them on occasions. But anything like that connected to spirit, where, somebody's lost or, sort of wandering around in the crematorium, it's so heartbreaking to think that that little boy could have just been sitting there for years because nobody knew what to do with him. So I'm quite blessed that I do the work I do, and it does have its inconveniences, of course. But then again, I was given these gifts for a reason, so I use them. So that's the story behind it, and that's how it came about. So I've put it on, as I said, I put it on various social medias, and it has sort of taken off a bit. And I had to leave it. Obviously, on my private stuff, I posted it before, but put it out there publicly. I thought I needed to leave enough time just in case the family did get wind of it, which I don't think they will now, because it's been quite a few years, maybe 6 years or something. I'm not really sure how long it's been. In my world, we don't have like tracker time very often. Half the time I don't know what day it is. We can't go by my timings. But yes, so I think it's right now to share it so people can find some comfort knowing as well that spirit are around you. They do communicate with you. They do love it when you go to their funerals. They love it when you speak. So I've had families saying, I can't talk, I won't be able to cope and all that. And they manage it and they feel so pleased with themselves that they've done it, knowing that their loved one's probably there watching what's going on. And they love to see who's going to turn up, what you got to say. And they love you sticking with the character and the theme of how they were. So if they was a bit, old school, then you would act accordingly. If there was a bit called blimey and swore a bit, they love all that. They don't want all this contrived, like hymns and prayers and all of that, unless of course they were that way. But they don't want you to suddenly become that way just because you think that's what they need to have to pass over, which they don't. And generally speaking, they don't really pass over until their funeral. So they're very active in between passing and the funeral service. And it's usually 2 weeks for us English people. It's obviously different for different cultures. So they become very active. They like to go around, see what everyone's doing, visit everyone. They can go everywhere into the cosmos, different planets, different parts of the world. It's all in a blink of an eye to them. And they just love it. And they love to visit everyone and see what's going on. But that final part of having the service is them having permission to finally leave. And that is why we have the service. Is the you giving them permission to now go. So that's why you should always try and get to the funerals if you can. And if you can't, you send something in. So you can send in a letter, ask someone to read something on your behalf. I mean, they know the score, they know what's going on. So never feel guilty if you can't attend the funeral. But you can always send something in. You can write a letter that can go in the coffin with them. You can write something and ask somebody to read it for you, or you can do a little video, something like that. There's always something. They will get it, they will get the message. So I hope this has been a bit enlightening for you, and a bit of an insight into some of the things that go on in my world. And again, I thank everybody for joining in and listening to the videos and supporting us in this journey of now putting it out there, if you like. So please subscribe or like the video. And as I said, I will put on the little video for you to see. I'll probably put it on separate. I'm not that great with technology, so I'm not even sure if I could add it to the end of it, but I will do my best to put that one on and the little picture of the lady, Linda, and her husband, her dad, sitting watching the service. And if I can find anything else, there were lots of things dotted about everywhere. It's just pulling it all together. But I'm sure as time goes on, I will find these things and I will share them with you. Okay, so I hope you're having a lovely day and a lovely Easter. And we'll catch up with you again soon. So bye for now.